Mark your calendars for Saturday, May 3rd, because CityCast Portland is hosting a block party in downtown Portland's Ankeny Alley in celebration of 503 Day, a totally real holiday. For 5 hours and 3 minutes, we get to celebrate everything we love about living in our great city with live entertainment, food, drinks, and so much more. Like local celebrities doing live band karaoke. Even Dylan T. Pickle has RSVP'd. And then we're going to cap it all off with a live taping of our show, CityCast Portland, the one you're listening to right now. Also, it's totally free. Find more information at our website, portland.citycast.fm. See you there.
In a city that prides itself on vegan eats and unfussy dining, you may be surprised to hear that our steakhouses are actually some of the most resilient spots in our restaurant industry. Portland's old-school steakhouses have been around for decades and remain a vital part of our city's identity. So what is it about our steakhouses that keeps Portlanders coming back? Today on CityCast Portland, host Claudia Meza talks with food writer Andrea Damewood about our long-standing steakhouse scene and her take on the best dishes to order right now. It's Monday, April 7th. I'm senior producer Julia Fiaioni, and this is what Portland's talking about.
Before we jump in, let's talk about what a steakhouse is. It's just not a place that's serving steak, because many restaurants do that, right? We're talking about like the classic steakhouse. So let's give some parameters. This is your world. I'm just living in it. So just tell me like what you were looking for.
Oh, to live in the world of just steakhouses.
Right?
What a dream. For me, the classic characteristics of a steakhouse are steak is going to be the focus of the menu. Like a lot of restaurants are going to have like a hanger steak or a skirt steak thrown on there. But this is going to be a place where you're going to have your choice of cuts. You're going to have your choice of sizes. Steak is their expertise, and the rest of the menu, while maybe good, is there to support the steak.
Steak is the star.
Yeah.
Is what I'm hearing. You go in there and you're like, by the way, we got other stuff, but it's steak, baby.
Move over.
Yeah.
It's time for steak.
Well, what do you look for in steakhouses that, you go to more than once?
I love a steakhouse that makes me feel transported back to a little bit of an older time. I love the classic steakhouses where you can imagine your grandparents going there on a fancy date night. Mm-hmm. I don't have the fashion or flair, but if I did, like I could put it on and go there and not feel out of place.
Gotcha. You know, it's so funny whenever people are just like, back in the old days. And I'm always just like, as a brown woman, would there be a special section for me? Would I be working in the back? But no, I hear what you're saying. But whenever we play that game, I'm just like, I don't think I'd like it there.
No, the past is terrible. It's a bad place.
It's so awful.
Yes. No, I mean, even as a white woman, I'm like, not for me. But damn, did that food slap?
It slaps so hard. So, a thing we've seen post-pandemic is just that a restaurant's life is tenuous. It's been very hard to get people back out. Prices for everything, it's just skyrocketing. But yet, the thing that stays is that like nostalgic steakhouse, or even new steakhouses come on and then just cling on. Like, what is it about a steakhouse that's so resilient?
Well, when I was reporting this story for the Mercury, I had a chance to talk to the general manager of Ringside, and I actually also talked to Gabrielle Quinones Denton, who is the co-owner and chef at Ox, which is another more contemporary steakhouse. And their answers had a similar through line of people looking for consistency and comfort. That when you go to a steakhouse, you know what you're going to get. You might have a favorite order and you're going to get that every time. And you might only do it once or twice a year to celebrate like an anniversary or a birthday, because steakhouses tend to be kind of a celebratory place. But there's enough people with birthdays and anniversaries going at all times. If that's their spot, it's going to make the steakhouse thrive.
Yeah. So you're basically saying it just becomes part of people's identity almost.
Absolutely. I was at Sailor's. That one's a little less fancy, but still, a nice splurge dinner. And the people in the booth over from me when I was there were talking about how it was a father-daughter tradition to go to Sailor's and order the same thing. And the waitress was talking about how she's had everyone in her family except for one kid also work there. And so, yeah, these places just become like ingrained as part of like traditions, or like, oh, somebody's graduating, time to go get the onion rings at Ringside.
I've noticed that like people who work at restaurants, it's a revolving door. But people who work at steakhouses, they work at like, they're just like, no, this is where I work. And like, what is it about that? I mean, maybe the money's just super good. You know, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Ringside had a bartender that is retiring after decades there. And yeah, it might be the tips. Maybe people are treated really well. I couldn't say about that part as I haven't worked in one myself. But yeah, it's just maybe the stability.
All right. Well, let's talk about Portland steakhouses. Like, which is the oldest steakhouse in Portland right now?
The oldest steakhouse in Portland is Ringside Steakhouse on West Burnside. It opened in 1944, so it's really old at this point. It's been owned by the same family since then. And a fun fact I didn't get to include in my story is that they actually opened as, I think it was an Italian-American restaurant, and after a few years, they switched to the steakhouse concept.
Wow. So I've only been there once. It was my partner's mother's birthday.
A milestone.
Yeah, and when we're just like, we're going to, and she loves steak, you know, we're going to take you. And I was so impressed because it's so nice in there, but it still has these touches where you're just like, oh, this is like real wood. And oh, you know, you feel like you're in a fancy cruise ship, you know,
the
like
fireplace, the big
so nice.
stone fireplace, and then like all of the signed menus that are hanging around. It's probably as close as we get to like New York's like Delmonico's, where they have like the drawings up on the walls that are really of famous people and things like that.
And I gotta say, like, it's known for these onion rings because James Beard basically stated, hey, these are the best onion rings in America, you know, and he just went off. And James Beard is from Portland, if you didn't know. And so I got them and I was just like, I'm sure they're just going to be like onion rings. They were so good.
They're so good.
I still think about them. Like, I'm just like, I would just go and have a martini and some onion rings. Like, they're so good. Okay, anyhow.
And the quality check that they do there for these simplistic things, that was the other thing that the manager really kind of impressed into me, is that because they have such basic classics, they have to be really mindful of the quality of the ingredients. So he was telling me that for like the shrimp cocktail, they do prawn tastings 3 times a year to make sure that they have the best prawns for the prawns. And then they have these like big onions they choose because they want the big O ring. And so they have all of these like quality controls in place to make sure that like when you're having just what could be a simple onion ring is really perfect. It's not quite like the Japanese putting a single strawberry into a container kind of business, but it gives me that vibe.
Yeah, they did such a great job. Oh my God, we should go to Ringside. What are we doing here? Okay, so what's your go-to order?
My go-to order is the bone-in ribeye that can be served for 2 folks, and the onion rings, and a prawn cocktail, and mashed potatoes. That's the move. Oh, and a salad, probably the wedge salad.
The wedge salad, yeah. I feel like I want to go again, and I think my thing is going to be like martini, you know, single oyster, prawn, onion rings, and then share a steak because I can never finish a steak. Like, I can't do it. I don't know who these people are finishing steaks at steakhouses. I'm getting hungry. So let's talk about some other spots. What other places did you hit up for the story?
So there's a handful of 3 older restaurants, Ringside, Clyde's Prime Rib, and Sailor's Old Country Kitchen. And so those were the 3 older ones I went to. And then 2 sort of newer ones from our sort of like late aughts, early 2010s restaurant bonanza that we had back then when we really made our name as a food town. 2 of the restaurants that have hung on and hung out till now is Laurelhurst Market and Ox.
Right. Well, let's go to each one and let's just talk about like what you would suggest someone going in there and grabbing. So Clyde's Prime Rib, love Clyde's, been there many times. It's, oh my God, it's also magnificent. Like you go in and you're just like, oh, there's always like, I love when people do tableside service. You know, they come out and they're just like, oh, I'm going to cut you off a little piece here. I'm going to do this little presentation here. What do you get at Clyde's?
I also was obsessed with Clyde's from the moment that I saw it. The fact that it's shaped like a castle and it's just chilling on Sandy and you're like, what is this? And so I too have been there probably more than any of the other restaurants on this list. I find it to be my most go-to as far as price and quality. And so the order is the prime rib.
Of course.
Yeah.
Did you just dummy?
Not you, just in general. Prime rib, again, I'm going to get a martini. I'm going to get a shrimp cocktail. Like, I guess at a steakhouse, I'm a pretty predictable lady.
Yeah.
But also there is an order, especially if you go to the bar. I think they're available as an appetizer in the restaurant, but like, why would you get steak bites as an appetizer to your prime rib? But if you go to the bar where there's live music on the weekends,
yeah,
it's very cool and mid-century in there.
Cool Breeze.
Also.
That's the house band, by the way. I don't know if they're still playing Cool Breeze.
I love that.
I know. Okay, go on.
But if you go to the bar, getting a martini and the steak bites, and last time I looked, they were like $16, and it's just prime rib turned into little like bites with horseradish and jus.
Perfect.
They're genius.
Yeah, I would just get that in a martini. That sounds delicious.
Yeah.
Have you ever walked into a museum and thought to yourself, you know, this place would be way cooler if everything was made of millions of Legos? Well, guess what? Your wish just came true because Jurassic World by Brickman is now open at the Oregon Museum of Science and Industry. It's a one-of-a-kind exhibition bringing the epic world of Jurassic World to life, featuring 50 massive dinosaurs, props, and scenes, all made from more than 6 million Lego bricks. And it's not just for looking. You can actually get hands-on with interactive activities like Lego brick paleontology, mystery mosaics, island building, and creating your own dinosaur designs. There's 2.5 million Lego bricks at your disposal, so your imagination can run wild. And you can be among the first to see it. This immersive, must-see adventure is making its American debut right here at OMSI. Learn more at omsi.edu. That's omsi.edu.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. It's tax season, and we're all a bit tired of numbers. But here's one you need to hear. $16.5 billion. That's how much the IRS flagged for possible identity fraud last year. Now here's a good number. 100 million. That's how many data points LifeLock monitors every second. If your identity is stolen, they'll fix it. Guaranteed. Save up to 40% your first year at LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Okay, what about Sailors? Sailors is only like 2 years older than Ringside, and I've actually never been to it. So where is Sailors?
Sailors is another place that I have been obsessed with ever since I've seen it because it's out on like 105th and Stark, and I've always been obsessed with that place too because the sign out front, the tall sign that goes above the roofline, shaped like a T-bone steak.
Oh my God.
And so I'm like,
it is.
Yes, this commitment is beautiful. I've been a number of times, and there the menu is actually somewhat set because you get to pick what type of steak you want. And they have porterhouse, ribeye. I actually just go with the New York strip on that one. I think that New York strip is an underrated steak as far as like, it's got some fat to it, but it's not like a ribeye where you're going to just feel kind of ill afterwards, which is what you want sometimes. I love a ribeye, but you get the New York strip dinner. It comes with a crudité spread at the beginning. You're going to get your like little mini carrots, mini corn, all of that good stuff.
I love this.
With ranch and some bread with like the butter still in the, like the wrapped pats. And you're going to get the steak and also some potato business, how you want that served, fries, baked.
Potato business, it would be the best name for a food cart. And of course, it's just potatoes all day, you know? And you're like, what is that? I don't know. It's potato business. Sorry, go
what
on.
A great business card, too. You could just have it shaped like a potato.
Oh, my God. Okay, go on.
And actually, the menus are shaped like steak also. And so you flip the menus up and you're just reading from the shape of a steak on the inside. But then the rest of the dinner includes also, like, you get 1 scoop of ice cream at the end, which, like, it's so precious.
So is this like a set number? You know, like you pay X amount and you get all these things, or does it change with the steak order?
It changes with the steak order, and you can get a la carte type things. Actually, randomly, both Ringside and Sailors have really good fried chicken.
Oh,
also.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, that I noticed that steak places tend to have like foods that they're like, okay, you don't want a steak. You're hanging out with people who want to eat steak, but you can't eat steak. Here's your thing, you know?
Yeah, and
Nice.
it's fried chicken. And then Sailors also has really good onion rings. They're not
As good as Ringside?
no,
Okay.
but they're really good.
Thank you for being honest, by the way.
I'm happy to do that. People pay me for my opinions.
Okay. But they're good.
They're
but
good. And actually, the steak dinner usually comes with like 1 onion ring on top of the steak.
Ooh.
Under no circumstances, if you're with 2 people, get the large onion ring. You will be swimming in onion rings.
Okay,
Only
gotcha.
if you want more, only order the small, unless you have a very large table.
Okay. These are good tips.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk about, so Laurelhurst Market and Ox are 2 other steak places. Now, I've been to both. Laurelhurst Market, I used to go to so many times. And I remember they used to have like I'm sure they don't anymore, but you know, back in the old days, like a $20 steak essentially. And it came with salad and it came with a side. And it was like my thing. And it was like a strip of some sort. I just remember it was like my favorite thing to get.
I remember that too. R.I.P. affordable meals.
Yeah. But I love Laurelhurst Market, like farm to table, all that stuff. It's just so good. What do you get there?
Yeah, I mean, what's cool about Ox and Laurelhurst Market is that they take that steakhouse ethos, but then they sort of add to it and add twists to it. So, you know, you're not going to see steak tartare at Ringside, but at Laurelhurst, that's one of the go-to dishes that you should absolutely get. It's the first time I ever got my mom to eat raw beef, and she loved it.
Oh, the tartare there is good.
Yeah,
Yes.
tartare. Then that's never coming off the menu.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll get that. And then I actually like to find out what seasonal veggie sides they have going and kind of just grab from there. And then also get like a steak frite. One of the last times I was there, I sat at the bar with my friend, ordered a Smoke Signals cocktail, which is like, it's like the first fancy cocktail I remember having in like 2009 that was like, ooh, they put smoke in the ice cube.
Yeah.
They made the bourbon smoky.
Yeah.
But legit, that cocktail is delicious. And so I had that and split a steak frite and like 2 or 3 veggie sides with my friend. And it was a great little Tuesday.
Yeah, it is a great Tuesday. Do they still have the deli?
They do. That's the other amazing part is that at lunchtime, they totally pivot and have sandwiches that you can order that are so good, like top 5 sandwiches in Portland. And then during the day, you can also order from the deli itself and get cuts of meat that you might be looking to cook at home. Or, you know, they oftentimes have like deli meat or other things that they've, you know, smoked or cured themselves that you can get for sale as well.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's so good. Okay. Well, let's talk about Ox. Now, Ox is the newest of the bunch, but it's still like, is it a decade old now? Like, it's pretty.
13.
It's 13
I
years
think,
old.
Yeah, I think it
my
opened in
God.
2012.
Oh, it's teenager. Okay. So I don't know if you know this, but when Guillermo del Toro was here making Pinocchio, which was like this very dark version of Pinocchio, and it was animated, he basically was just like, oh, I lived at Ox. Like, that was his favorite place that he would go to.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, and so I don't know what his order was, but I just love that he found his restaurant, and he's just like, this is my favorite place. So when I think of Ox, I think of Guillermo del Toro, just like hanging out in a booth, just eating a steak. What do you get there?
Ox is the least steakhousey, but also somehow the most steakhousey of all of these in a weird way, because they have so many different cuts of like offal, you know, sweetbreads, tongue, that kind of thing. But then they also have, you know, skirt steak and ribeye, which is like their most ordered dish. I might get a skirt steak or a ribeye. I like the meat platter for 2 people. I like splitting things and trying a bunch of different things. So I like to go that route. Their third most ordered dish is the iconic clam chowder with the bone marrow bones in it. I'm always going to get that It's so good. And the bone marrow, just kind of putting it into already like a rich, creamy broth is just out of this world. So
I've not had that.
yeah. And then also they usually have like a halibut or some sort of like meaty fish going that they cook in the wood-fired oven. And that's almost always a great bet. Oh, and the pork chop.
The pork chop's really good.
Love that pork chop. They have the recipe for it in their cookbook that they put out several years ago, and I've made it at home, and it's not as good as professionals, but it's not too bad.
Okay, so they have a firewood like oven. I remember that. You know,
Yeah.
that was the place where I learned about cooking things with rosemary, like actual sprigs of rosemary. I didn't know you could do that, and it really upped my barbecue game, you know, my grill game, because there's rosemary everywhere, but they would like douse it in oil and then just put it in that smell, you know, and how it infused in the food. Ever since, I have not looked back, Ox. I want you to know.
Aromatiques.
It's so good. But also when I went there, the first time I went there was like when they were just opening, and we ordered some more like veggie forward dishes, you know, just, so they made some, and I didn't know, it's Argentinian, right? Like it's like, or something like, what is?
Argentinian inspired, yeah.
Yeah, because there's chimichurri, which is very good. And there's also these side dishes that have like maize and like hominy. And like at the time, I don't know if they still do it, but I remember those were my favorite dishes, were the dishes that are not traditional steakhouse dishes. And I haven't been back for a while, but I should definitely give it another try.
That's one of our milestone restaurants in my family.
Oh.
My dad just turned 70, and we put together like a little tasting family style menu, and they printed out like a special happy 70th birthday hoagie, that's my dad's nickname, menu for him. And then we just like gorged ourselves, and it was so much fun.
I love this idea of like a personalized menu, and that they like allowed that. They're just like, sure, let's do this.
If you email ahead, I think they'll like kind of accommodate stuff like that, because they know it's a milestone place. And I agree with you totally. I mean, both Ox and Laurelhurst Market, like, you can't skip the veggies. And that's, I think, what really sets them in, you know, there's many ways they're different than the old school ones, but that's the biggest one, I think, is that you're gonna have just as good of a time with a roasted carrots and chimichurri as you are with like a bone-in ribeye.
Agreed. So what are your personal steakhouse traditions? I mean, obviously you said Ox was like your family's milestone place, but do you have any other, you know, steakhouse, like this is what I do when I do this, and this is what we get, or whatever?
Yeah, for the longest time, anytime a new James Bond movie came out, me and my friend group would go to Clyde's Prime Rib. On Sundays, they used to have a $30 prime rib special where you could get a smaller cut of prime rib and all the sides for $30. Ooh. I don't think they do it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we would go on a Sunday night and get that, and then just like probably too many martinis, let's be real. And then, but you need it to tide you over, because we would go over to the Roseway, which is now gone, the Roseway Theater.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. And we'd go see the new James Bond movie, because it's a throwback thing. We'd go to this like mid-century steakhouse, eat like a white man in the 1960s, and then go watch a movie celebrating the exploits of
the British Empire. Hey,
all that.
You know, let's talk about how many because you're like too many martinis. If I were to say, hey, we're going to watch every James Bond movie, would you be surprised by the ending? Is that how many martinis you had? Do you know what I mean? Like, would it be a brand new movie for you?
No, I do think it, like, I've seen every James Bond movie for some reason. I love James Bond. What it did do is make me lippy about things. Like, I'd be sitting in the theater and be watching it and be like, this movie's too long. That was really predictable. Oh my God, girl, what are you doing? Like, that's the level of martini I was at, which was like
out loud, like louder than your friends, like earshot, or just
mostly
friends?
Keeping it to the poor friend who sat on either side of me.
Oh, gotcha. Oh, I feel like that's allowed. That's allowed. Well, Andrea, thank you so much for hanging out with me, going through some of these steakhouses. We better end it now before we just like spiral.
Yeah.
Thanks, Andrea.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me on.
Well, that's all for today here on CityCast Portland. Thank you for listening, and if you enjoyed the show, why not tell a friend, rate, or leave us a review? We'll be back tomorrow morning with more from around the city. Until then, see you at Slim's.